Welcome to The Explainer. So, after a massive world war, a new kind of conflict started to brew. This one wasn't fought on battlefields, but in the shadows, with secrets. Today, we're digging into two very different stories from this age of anxiety. One is about the ultimate betrayal, and the other is about a kind of loyalty that was almost completely forgotten.
Okay, so let's just start with a question that was on everyone's mind in America after World War II. In a country that was suddenly obsessed with who was loyal and who was a traitor, the answer to this one question could literally be the difference between life and death. What exactly makes someone a patriot?
You know, you'd think after the victory parades, everyone could finally breathe a sigh of relief. But nope. A new kind of fear, this cold, chilling dread started to creep in. It was like a shadow falling over the whole world, dividing it not with fences, but with this iron curtain of pure suspicion. Yeah, that phrase, the iron curtain, it was everywhere, and it brought this really pervasive fear right into American homes. The thinking was, the enemy wasn't just some army across the ocean anymore. No, a Soviet spy could be literally anyone. Your neighbor, that guy you work with, maybe even someone high up in the government. And if that wasn't enough, this fear got supercharged by something brand new, atomic anxiety. I mean, just the knowledge that the whole world could be wiped out in an instant, well, that created a national obsession with protecting America's biggest, most terrifying secret, the bomb. And this obsession, this desperate need to guard the atomic secret, is what leads us to one of the most infamous espionage cases in all of American history. It's a story of betrayal that basically became a huge cautionary tale for an entire generation. Right at the center of this whole firestorm were two people, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The accusation against them was huge. They were charged with stealing the nation's most heavily guarded secret. We're talking sketches of the atomic bomb's trigger, its core design, and handing it over to the Soviet Union. To a terrified public, this was it. This was the ultimate betrayal. And their fate, it was sealed in 1953. Now, get this, it's a pretty stark fact. They were the only American civilians to be executed for espionage during the entire Cold War. The only ones. Their deaths were meant to send a message, a really powerful and brutal one, to the entire country. And that message was loud and clear, and honestly, terrifying. This wasn't just about a trial or about justice. This was a public statement. The government was showing that it would go to any length, including killing its own citizens, to protect its atomic secrets. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. While all of this is playing out on the national stage, there's another group of people, another group keeping a secret that was just as important. But their story wasn't one of betrayal. It was one of deep, profound, and almost completely unrecognized loyalty. This contrast, well, it's really at the heart of what we're talking about today. On one side, you have the Rosenbergs, betraying the nation by giving away nuclear secrets. And on the other, you have the Navajo code talkers, protecting the nation by keeping linguistic secrets. Two different secrets, two totally opposite acts, both defining this one single paranoid time in history. And this is where you see the profound, almost unbelievable irony that the code talkers faced. I mean, think about it. They showed absolute loyalty to a country that had historically done terrible things to their people. The long walk, forcing children into boarding schools to erase their culture. They held the key to winning the war in the Pacific. They were sworn to secrecy for more than 20 years. And then they came home to a country where, in some states, they weren't even allowed to vote. It's just staggering. So these two stories, they didn't just happen in a bubble. They were both born out of this overwhelming culture of fear, an atmosphere that really poisoned everyday life for millions of Americans. And this era of fear got a name, McCarthyism. It was basically a massive political crusade led by Senator Joe McCarthy. And it was built on this terrifying idea that communist enemies within had infiltrated all levels of American society. It created this suffocating culture where paranoia was just everything. At the heart of it was this vicious idea of guilt by association. You didn't actually have to do anything wrong. Just knowing someone who was accused or maybe having attended the wrong meeting 10 years ago, that was enough. It could get you put on a blacklist, and your career, especially if you were in Hollywood, could be destroyed overnight based on nothing more than rumors and fear. So, in a nation completely gripped by this paranoia, what happened in the end? What were the final fates for these two groups? The one defined by betrayal and the other by loyalty.
Well, the outcomes couldn't have been more different. For the Rosenbergs, sharing a secret led to public execution. The message from the state was clear: betrayal will be met with death. And for the code talkers, keeping a secret led to enforced silence and struggle. The message there was that your loyalty would be classified, ignored, and ultimately go completely unrewarded.
And right here, this is the crucial link that ties these two stories together. The very public execution for sharing one secret made the absolute silence around the other secret that much more critical. The code talkers saw firsthand the price you could pay for revealing state secrets, and it had to have strengthened their own vow to stay silent.
So it leaves us with this one final, really unsettling question. When a nation is so driven by fear, who is it that really pays the price for its secrets? Is it the traitors, the heroes, or is it maybe the nation itself?